You know, all this time that Donald Trump has been trying to make the Epstein case go away, we have not one time heard anyone in the Trump administration consider talking to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. We never hear them use the phrase Epstein survivor or Epstein victim. It's just all about how they're going to bring down the Democrats. It's all political to them. It's all about how can we bring down the Democrats and how can we clear Donald Trump's name. And they don't actually care at all about the victims. For the first time in American history, we saw a president send his lawyer to talk to a child sex trafficker. And then we saw that child sex trafficker get moved to a cushy prison, and now they release a transcript and they say, there you go, there's the proof, there's the evidence Donald Trump done nothing wrong. And it's one of the craziest things that we've ever witnessed, because if that's what they call transparency, that's the most biggest line of bullshit that I've ever heard in my life. Listen to hear how they're always defending this. Listen here how they're always trying to spin it. Here's Jim Jordan. He thinks that transcript just set Trump free and the case is closed. Take a look.
We'll see. What I know is they didn't release parts of the transcript. They released the whole transcript. And you know, so you can go through the whole thing. And, of course, this confirms what we all knew. If the Democrats, if President Trump had done something wrong, you don't think the Democrats would have released that? I mean, it was their Justice Department who handled all this. You don't think the Garland Justice Department and the Chris Wray FBI would have released information? We knew President Trump didn't do anything wrong here. He said that repeatedly. This transcript is the whole transcript, and it confirms that. So, yeah, I think there's nothing there, it seems, based on what we got from the interview of Miss Maxwell.
Congressman, last one for you.
You know, I can't help but wonder what would have happened if Joe Biden had have sent his lawyer to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell, and they talked behind closed doors, and then she got moved to a comfortable prison, and then they released the transcript and said, hey, she didn't say anything bad about Joe Biden. She said that him or Bill Clinton or none of the Democrats ever did anything wrong, and that frees all of them, that clears all of them. Do you think they would have bought that for a second? Hell no. There is no way in hell that MAGA would ever buy this line of bullshit. This is the most blatant cover-up that we have ever seen. I mean, if you really just stop and think about it for a second, I can't believe they feel like that we're that stupid. They believe that we're that stupid. So here was a woman, what was she, 63 years old, going to be serving 15 to 20 years? So she's pretty much going to be in there for the rest of her life. Do you think she's honestly going to say anything bad about Donald Trump when he's the guy that can pardon her? Is she going to say anything bad about him when she knows that's her one get-out-of-jail-free card? Of course she's going to say that he was innocent. Of course she's not going to throw anybody under the bus. She's going to play it safe, play her cards close to her chest, and get out. And MAGA will be okay with it. That's the thing. They'll just roll with this. And this was the hill that they were willing to die on. But I want you to remember one thing. Whatever hill MAGA is willing to die on today, they're willing to completely abandon that hill tomorrow. And that has been their MO this entire time. That's always been MAGA. That's who they are. They'll stand up here, they'll flex, and they'll say they're all about protecting and saving children, and then they will sit back and watch a child sex trafficker get sent to a cushy prison, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, that's no problem. That's great. Oh, yeah, she said Trump did nothing wrong, because all it was ever about to them was clearing Donald Trump's name and flexing and trying to bring down a Democrat. That's all it was ever about to them. It was never about the victims. And I guarantee if there's a MAGA troll watching this video, they're going to stop right here and tune out, because I'm about to show you a clip of a Jeffrey Epstein survivor. Someone who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein, speaking up and speaking out. You'll never hear Donald Trump sit down with her. Take a look.
I have been speaking up as an advocate for 4 years. And in my comments 4 years ago, when I shared that I was an Epstein survivor, I would see right-leaning, up to MAGA, serious MAGA saying, you know what, Donald Trump is on top of this. Donald Trump is the one that's helping the FBI get the evidence on him. They really believed that he was law and order. And I think that's the big disconnect right now, is they're finding out that he's not following through with who they thought he was. And it's really backfiring. I think it's also backfiring for him because I'm not the 22-year-old girl that was raped in 1991. The children that were abused by Maxwell and Epstein are no longer children. We are women. And I think he is greatly misunderstanding the strength and resolve of women that have been systemically and over time completely ignored. You never hear the words Epstein victim or Epstein survivor out of this White House. I have yet to hear those two words. It's always about, we are going to get the bad guys. Here's the first big phase one dump of information from Pam Bondi in February. But we never hear, we're going to get the victims justice. We care about how the victims feel right now. We're going to try to move this along in a way that gets the victims and those survivors that have been working so hard to speak up justice. That's not happening. So.
Yeah, the Trump administration has never one time used the phrase Epstein survivor or Epstein victim. You never hear MAGA talk about the victims because this was all political to them. All they cared about was seeing Democrats get brought down. It was never about the victims. It was never about the pain and suffering that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell dished out on the victims. It was never about that. It was about bringing down Democrats and bringing down celebrities that they hated. They thought there was this big list of every Democrat and every celebrity that they ever hated, and they thought that Trump would expose that big list, and he would come out the hero in the story, and he would drain the swamp, and they would be right about it all. That's all they cared about. They never actually cared about the victims. They call themselves the party of pro-life, but you cannot be the party of pro-life and be okay with someone being born into this world and then being abused by the likes of Epstein and Maxwell. These people are not pro-life. Don't ever let them tell you that they are, and don't ever let them tell you that they care about victims or they care about anything really. It's all about flexing. It's all about owning the libs, and that's all this thing ever was to them. When they talked about that island, they weren't seeing the victims. They weren't seeing the pain and suffering. They were seeing the Democrats. That's the people that they wanted to see brought down. And when it looked like for a second that it was Trump, they started doing anything they could to try to make that go away. Now, there still has to be those MAGAs out there who are seeing this and going, you know what? This doesn't look good. There still has to be those ones that are starting to wake up out from under this. And I hope they can come all the way out of this coma and wake up to what has been the most blatant cover-up that we've ever seen right in front of our faces. This thing is playing out exactly like a Better Call Saul episode or an episode of the Sons of Anarchy, but this is real life. This is not something that we're just sitting back binge watching on Netflix. This is real life, and it was the real lives of the victims who got caught up in this MAGA political game. Their hatred for Democrats will always outweigh anything else. Their hatred for liberals and their hatred for anyone who Donald Trump points to them and says, hate that person next, will always outweigh any care in the world that they have about anything else. Because that's their identity. And that's what this really boils down to, folks. That is their identity. Donald Trump gives them an identity. And to bring him down brings down their identity. And they would have to face up to the consequences. They would have to take accountability for their actions. And the Republican Party left that in the dustbin a long time ago. They're not about pulling themselves up by the bootstraps. They're about punching down to people who don't even have boots. And so we're witnessing and have witnessed one of the biggest cover-ups in history. And to the people that sat back and talked about, oh, we cared about the victims and we were pro-life. No, you weren't. It was always political. You only cared about seeing Bill Clinton get brought down. And meanwhile, we were over here saying, we don't care. We don't care if Bill Clinton gets brought down because it's not political to us. It was political to them, and they never gave a damn about the victims, and I'm never going to stop saying that.